Many people have been wondering why comedy is so terrible right now. I think 2024 personally was the year that comedy took a nosedive, lit itself on fire, and then ran around screaming, "I'm dying." And then as the year progressed, it did die. Burned to a crisp, nothing left. Just, terrible specials everywhere. Everyone was putting out terrible specials. If you don't believe me, just go watch like 5 Netflix specials. You'll only watch like 5 minutes because you'll turn them all off in the first minute. Comedy is in such a desperate state. It's clinging. And no, the mothership is not comedy. I'm sorry. There is nobody funny that goes into that place. Joe Rogan won't have anybody funny going to that place. You know why? Because he's not funny. And then if they find out there's somebody funny in the mothership, then the whole gig for Joe Rogan being a comedian, done. So I searched for answers to these questions, just for you. And I came upon an article from the New York Times. And I know the New York Times has a bad rap. I'm not a fan of it. You know, money corrupts all, right? Especially the news. But I think we might want to look at it. Maybe there's a point of view in here that'll give us an answer. So the article is, for comments, honing jokes has taken a backseat to marketing. That's not good. So we're just going to take us a nice little listen, grab your coffee, a joint, whatever. And we're going to see if we can find the answer to why comedy is a giant pile of steam and poo-poo.
In November, the comic Isabel Hagen made a confession that you almost never hear an artist make publicly. In a provocative Substack essay headlined, "Social Media is Depriving Artists," she wrote that while she once spent most of her time writing jokes, studying and refining them, her time and focus had shifted to promoting them. "Every day, instead of writing, I sit and think, I should post a clip of stand-up," she explained before describing her workaday thought process. "What clip will get mean reactions that spark fights in the comments and therefore feeds the algorithm and gets me more views? Should I go into my folder of bikini photos and post one with the caption "lol hi"? The first thing to say about this is, for an artist in 2024, it's entirely rational and more common than you think.
You know, this could be a good point, right? And it could be because you saw that comedy has just taken such a drastic shift down into the turd fields. And maybe it is because they're focusing on their podcast more, their brand deals. You can see through all of comedy, not just the Rogan sphere, that the level is just terrible right now. They're going to mention Cat Williams' special. Cat Williams' new special isn't that good compared to what he used to do. Everybody's focused on other stuff right now except comedy, and that this makes sense. Comedy is bad because nobody cares about it.
Second, it's bleak. Hagen deserves praise for her honesty, because her essay captures the year in comedy in a way that the barrage of best of lists doesn't. Young artists, to be sure, have always had to promote themselves, but the balance between that element of the job and the actual art feels worryingly lopsided in our current digital age. The stigma of selling out is long gone, now replaced by the guilt of not doing it constantly. For young artists, that tends to mean posting clips online, which puts butts in seats and increases follower counts, which helps get jobs. Comedy has moved to video. Most clubs now...
You know, something I wanted to mention was there's that guilt. That guilt is definitely there. I feel that, like, you want to make YouTube, I gotta make it. I guess that's guilt in everything. I guess
tape every...
We're guilted all throughout life, and it feels that way with YouTube. Like, maybe that's just sometimes when you care about things and you want to be successful in them, you always feel guilty when you're not always moving towards that. But why wouldn't you write jokes? Like, I feel like if you do it, why wouldn't you just continue to write jokes either? I don't know. I smoked a joint, man. I'm sorry. Man.
turning these institutions into mini studios that provide the video for Instagram commercials. The goal for most comics building careers is an hour on Netflix, which is showing signs it appears as interested in creating newsy comedy events as ambitious specials. Its push to live shows accelerated this year, drawing audiences to roasts, specials, and talk shows, even though every one of these would have been better if it had been edited and fussed over. That's one of several signs that pressure to focus on something other than honing jokes is not merely an issue with young comics, but also tied to larger trends in comedy. The biggest acts, like Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Burr, and Dave Chappelle, came up in an era of major networks and powerful industry gatekeepers. But that power has been replaced by algorithms. Some comics have capitalized on this, selling sex appeal works.
I think that algorithm thing, I think that's Andrew Schultz's whole gig, is feeding the algorithm, because nothing he does really makes sense. He's so bizarro. You know, there's nothing consistent about him, and 1 minute, you know, like does Andrew Schultz ever live down that Kendrick Lamar thing? You know, just straight up going out of left field, just I'm gonna, you know, if we were in prison. And so it would make sense if Andrew Schultz's whole thing was beating the algorithm. That would explain all the weird little connections that make no sense. They'd all come together and intertwine. So I think Andrew's playing with fire. You only play with fire if you get paid for it.
Which is why the old taboo against good-looking funny people has been fading. Generating conflict and drama works too. That is partly the reason 2024 was the year of the artistic beef. In rap, Kendrick Lamar made his biggest mark with a Drake diss track. Similarly, Cat Williams had the biggest hit of the comedy year, not with a special he produced, but with a guest appearance on a podcast on which he talked an epic amount of trash, generating backlash in news articles and commanding attention. His actual stand-up special, a live hour filmed during the Netflix Comedy Festival, was something of a disappointment compared with his previous hours. But does that even matter? The jokes in his special seem...
This article's kind of hitting some stuff nail on the head. It's like if you wanna explain Bert Kreischer, if you want to explain Mark Normand, Ari Shaffir, Tom Segura, like a lot of these guys aren't good. And you go, well, why are people going to see him? They're not going to see them for comedy or stand-up. They're going to see them because of what they do on the podcast, the characters outside of the comedy. Like Bert is a giant character, and people either like feel sorry for him, love him, or they want to watch him burn. And that's why they're going, because you beat yourself up, like, yo, like, am I just becoming like really miserable person deep down inside because I'm not laughing at any of this, and everyone around me is saying that it's funny. Are they all pretending? Maybe, or maybe the bar's so low right now that they can't even. At least it's something. Because all these personalities of these comedians off of the stage is what's selling people going to their stage or selling people to their podcasts. Like, I always bring up Mark Normand because Mark Normand can be pretty funny, like quick-witted on podcasts. The same with Theo Von. Theo Von is hilarious. The things he comes up to, you put those two on stage, their specials are horrendous. They have like the most horrendous specials, like so bad. It's you will be shocked. You'd be shocked and like especially Theo Von. Theo Von's special was so bad. I was like, is this the same? Is there a twin? You know, is there another twin named Theo or Tio? But this explains a lot. Their marketing is selling. Man, damn, who would have thought marketing? Jeez.
Secondary to the gossip of his podcast appearance, there are already rumors of a sequel. But for me, Hagen's essay feels like the most worrying sign because she's exactly the kind of emerging comic who should be working on her craft, aiming for the next great special. I first saw her perform in a Brooklyn basement many years ago, and while she was still a little green, her polished writing, spiky melancholy persona, and natural sense of when to shift gears immediately marked her as an artist to keep an eye on. She even had a gimmick. She is a classically trained musician who incorporates viola into her stand-up. This act got her some attention, and even a spot on late-night television. But talent and The Tonight Show aren't enough anymore to break through. Or at least that is the implicit argument of her essay, which traces the significant cultural and technological shift of her career to the rise of short-form video on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, while a few comics like Rob Delaney and Megan Amram used written jokes on Twitter to break through. The major change has been the proliferation of video.
Yeah, it's, people want content constantly too. Just constantly. And you have to just keep making it. And it's a whole new thing. Like, who wants to sit? Like, man, if I could just make this video and it goes right into YouTube and I didn't have to make a thumbnail and I didn't have to find all the keywords and I have to write a description. I try to do as little as possible. I don't want to do that stuff, and so I try to do as little as possible. But it's so annoying that if you're making content, well, I guess you're making content. Yeah, making content's annoying. Like right now is okay, but all that editing and stuff, it's annoying. You got to be in the mood for that. I just ain't in the mood for it ever. So, I mean, here's the thing, right? You either do this marketing and you become like Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, have these big podcasts, these big audience, these money generating machines, which arguably probably make more money than their comedy does, and you have focus on that, but your comedy takes a dump. Or, you take the Dave Chappelle, Dave Attell, that kind of route where it's all about the craft and the special or whatever, the gigs, the podcasts, those all come later. And or more like Louis C.K. does that, focuses really intently on his comedy over other things. And then you have those names and you become considered great comics, not just like a guy you knew, in the 90s, and then afterwards you forgot about him. Like, you make a name for yourself. So, I mean, we've been looking elsewhere, and it was there the whole time. When you don't focus on something, you're not good at it.
When Hagen started doing open mics in 2015, she writes in the essay, her peers were talking about crafting jokes and getting better at stand-up. But the power of videos to young comics and to the bookers and casting agents who hire them has made such footage the new currency. Those clips have introduced audiences to many funny talents, including Megan Stalter, Hacks, and James Austin Johnson, Saturday Night Live, and they have helped comics sell more tickets. Crowd work videos in particular became ubiquitous because they are great for engagement online and they don't give away written jokes, which are typically better. The steady diet of riffing with fans online has made audiences think this improvisational trick is the core of comedy. And maybe it is. Matt Rife was the second highest grossing touring comedian in 2024, bringing in $57.5 million. Nate Bargatze was first, and his recent Netflix release...
Dude, I think I put that as one of the worst specials, right? Nate Bargatze. If people are saying that Nate Bargatze is funny, the jokes he told, I feel like it could have been a single man telling you a story at a laundromat, like really weird dude, and he was just going on about dogs and just his wife, and nothing, and it was so plain, and you just like this, hey, and my wife said I opened the door, and yeah, and Anyways, if people say that's funny, people like Nate Bargatze being famous and considered comedian, honestly, outside of my opinions and my tastes, make me think most of humanity is retarded. Like, why? Why are you spending your money on these guys? Do you just like walk into a wall all throughout the day, just smashing your skull into concrete, to brick, you know, whatever material is in front of you, you know, like, what are we doing, people? This guy, I cannot believe that this guy has any, like, I'm just thinking, where did I fuck up? Where did I go wrong? Okay? How is this guy? Where did I go wrong? Deep inside, am I jealous? No, I'm just mad that I just chose things that made sense. But they do say stupid people are more confident because they don't have any of the limiting factors of common sense. And that's why you see a lot of stupid people in politics. Just is what it is. Let's get back, dude. I'm going to have a breakdown, like, and start crying and wondering, you know.
Lucid was made up entirely of crowd work. The funniest thing on it was when he said, "This show is going to be different than anything you have seen live or on Netflix before. I wish." Hagen is no Luddite. She says she is grateful for social media tools to spread her work without the meddling of gatekeepers.
I don't even know who she is.
And yet,
her marketing ain't working.
The old flawed system, in which Stephen Wright could be discovered by a booker from The Tonight Show, who was in Boston because he was looking at colleges with his kid, had its benefits. Only a decade ago, comics regularly said you needed 6 or 8 years of experience before you actually get good enough to perform for a big audience. That kind of patience now seems passé. The current ethos is to throw everything at the wall as fast as possible and see what sticks. Volume matters. Hagen speculates that the accelerated speed of technological change is what's behind the need to grow careers at the same rate. The last 2 decades have seen a dizzying number of shifts in artistic outlets, from Twitter to Vine to TikTok, from podcasting to live streaming. Comedians are quick to adapt.
Yeah.
Dane Cook may have been the first artist to use social media to rocket to fame by connecting with fans through MySpace in the mid-2000s.
You know, these comedians adapt. You underestimate that, right? But these guys, I mean, Trump was a sure, like, if you were gonna go to Vegas and throw some money down, you should have thrown it on Trump was gonna win. It was, you know, whatever side you were on, it was just, the hand was pointing to him, and it was guaranteed. I didn't even know what Kamala was doing. Maybe it was her, like, a big celebration, but she was never gonna win. America was just so tired of whatever that was, and all of the Rogan sphere knew it, and everyone knew Trump was gonna win. Though with like half a brain, it was just common sense, and the Rogan sphere all knew it, and they went super political on a guaranteed win, and they got all these new fans. They got big opportunities to expand, big opportunities to get paid. They got it all. These comedians might be bad at comedy, might be a little weird, if you know what I mean, but they have taken the marketing bull by the horns. That is for sure. And you know, whether you're liberal or Republican, and New York Times is not a very trustworthy magazine. I like this because it's outside of like news, it's comedy. But this they hit all the points. It explains so much of them. It's the connection that gives you answers to all those bad jokes. Let's just finish it off.
This experimental bent has been a strength for comics and has allowed them to flourish online more than other kinds of artists. But it's worth pausing to consider what has been lost. Do we want to live in a world where quality is so easily compromised to get more attention? Should we really be happy with a cultural system that incentivizes artists to spend more time selling their wares than developing their work? Does a steady stream of crowd work videos teach the audience to expect less from the art form? Hagen doesn't end her bracing essay with a comforting resolution or a lesson learned. Instead, she says that while she would like to say she is going to spend more time getting better at her craft, because that leads to success, she isn't naive. She fears that we are moving to a culture where we're just looking to be distracted. If distraction is the goal, she concludes, the loudest and most persistent artist will win, and many may forget why they entered a creative field in the first place.
Hey, they said it. Hey, and look, I am a believer in volume over quality. Listen, I don't have time for quality. I don't have time to sit here and edit 3-4 hours a day, put in little cuts here and there, little jokes and little pictures to represent jokes and all these little close-ups of people's faces. I ain't got time, dude. I gotta work. I'm betting on that. You just see my face too much. I mean, you're not gonna forget me because I'll be there every day. That's all I got time for. So I get it. And a lot of the times, here's the thing. If you look at YouTube, the quality compared to production of movies, of TV shows is really, really low. Most people aren't doing high quality. And a lot of the times it's just putting something out there and being there and connecting with the audience or getting them all riled up or happy, or you know what I mean? A lot of the times it's just putting something out there that makes you win. And I get it. But I think these guys should focus on jokes if they're going to call themselves comedians. Or they should just do what they really are and call them what they really are, right? Podcasters.
Know you like to bang, you don't stay.